every Thursday on DD India.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next stop. India's PM Narendra Modi attends East Asia Summit in Lao PDR, says security and stability of South China Sea is in interest of entire Indo-Pacific region. Fresh Israeli strikes hit central Beirut. World leaders condemn attack on UN peacekeepers in South Lebanon. Kremlin confirms leaders of 24 countries and the UN General Secretary to attend BRICS Summit starting October 22nd. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the 19th East Asia Summit in Vientiane, Laos. During his address, PM Modi extended condolences to the countries who have been impacted by Typhoon Yagi. PM Modi noted India's assistance in providing humanitarian aid through Operation Sadbhav. PM Modi emphasized on ASEAN unity and centrality. He reiterated India's interest in peace, security and stability of South China Sea. He called for free, open, inclusive and prosperous Indo-Pacific. PM Modi said that maritime activities should be conducted under UNCLOS. He noted that focus should be on development, not expansionism. He said India's support for ASEAN approach on the situation in Myanmar. PM said that countries of Global South are facing most negative impact of ongoing conflicts. He called for peace and stability to be restored as soon as possible. India's Prime Minister said that this is not the year of war. He reiterates that problems cannot be solved on the battlefield. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the first leader to be invited to address the East Asia Summit after the host and incoming chair, according to sources. India's role and importance in ASEAN was also recognized. According to sources, Prime Minister Modi was also recognized as the only leader in the room who has participated in the most number of East Asia Summit, which is 9 out of 19 East Asia Summits. The East Asia Summit refers to the meeting of heads of states governments of the East Asia Summit participating countries, which is convened annually. The summit process was initiated in 2005 with the convening of first East Asia Summit in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. In his address, PM Modi said that India has always supported ASEAN unity and centrality. He noted that ASEAN is also at the center of India's Indo-Pacific vision and Quad cooperation. And US Secretary of State Antony Blinken reaffirmed Washington's commitment to support ASEAN centrality during the ASEAN-US Summit on Friday. Blinken also reiterated the nation's stance on supporting freedom of navigation and overflight in the Indo-Pacific and stressed the importance of maintaining stability in the Taiwan Strait.
From the deepening crisis in Myanmar, to the DPRK's destabilizing behavior, to Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine, which continues to violate principles at the heart of the United Nations Charter and at the heart of ASEAN's Treaty of Amity and Cooperation. We remain concerned about China's increasingly dangerous and unlawful actions in the South and East China Seas, which have injured people and harmed vessels from ASEAN nations, and contradict commitments to peaceful resolution of disputes. The United States will continue to support freedom of navigation and freedom of overflight in the Indo-Pacific. We also believe it's important to maintain our shared commitment to protect stability across the Taiwan Strait. But whether it's responding to urgent global challenges or advancing the shared hopes of our people, the relationship between the United States and ASEAN will continue to be essential.
And on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit, PM Narendra Modi met the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Vientiane. PM Modi extended condolences to the US over the loss of lives due to Hurricane Milton in Florida. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held bilateral talks with his Lao PDR counterpart on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit a short while ago. And the 19th East Asia Summit was held in Vientiane, Lao PDR on Friday. Leaders and heads of state from Asia-Pacific countries, including a representative from Russia, gathered for the annual East Asia Summit to discuss a wide range of topics such as regional stability, trade and environment. The East Asia Summit is part of 10-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations meeting and is hosted by Laos this year. It is joined by heads of government and top diplomats from partners including the United States, China, Japan, Russia, Australia, as well as New Zealand and the EU Council President. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was in attendance at the gathering. The President of the European Council and the Secretary General of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization attended the open session and briefed the meeting on enhancing connectivity and on economic integration.
EAS is inseparable from the ASEAN-centered regional architecture, and in the face of an evolving and complex geopolitical and geo-economic landscape, it is crucial that we strengthen cooperation under the East Asia framework to foster mutual understanding, mutual trust, and mutual confidence as key elements to our shared objectives of peace, stability, and sustainable development.
India and Lao People's Democratic Republic today signed several memorandum of understandings, MOU on defence, cooperation and assistance in custom matters, MOU in broadcasting between Prasar Bharati and Lao National Broadcaster, and also MOU in quick impact projects under the Mekong-Ganga cooperation. All right, we'll go across to Meghna Dev. She is joining us live from Lao PDR's capital, Vientiane. Meghna, tell us about the highlights, takeaways of East Asia Summit first.
Yes, when we actually see Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address at the East Asia Summit, we definitely see how he has encapsulated that there should be peace in the region. That is number one. Second, when he says that the South China Sea is of utmost importance, and not only that, the conflict in Russia, Ukraine, or the conflict in Israel does disturb the Southeast Asian region. So that's what he has told on the platform. Besides that, he has also clearly highlighted that we are from the land of Buddha, and this in a sense he reiterated his statement that this is not an era of war. Now that's not how issues should be solved. Battlefield is no answer. So all of that, this is something what the East Asia Summit revolved around. Prime Minister Narendra Modi did also speak about different aspects, be it connectivity, be it the trade relation, defense cooperation, and much more. But when we actually look at the current the visuals that we saw of Prime Minister Sifandon and Prime Minister Narendra Modi holding a bilateral meeting and the MOUs being exchanged, we definitely see that there is an MOU on defense cooperation. Now, we definitely know that India and ASEAN have a comprehensive strategic partnership, and defense is one of the important pillars of that partnership. And when with Lao, we now have an MOU on defense cooperation, this will take it further. We definitely do see that we have joint exercises with countries like Thailand, joint defense exercises with countries like Thailand. So, to expand on defense cooperation, this is something that is very important in terms of India-Lao PDR bilateral relationship. Second, there is an MOU with Prasar Bharati and Lao broadcaster, Lao television. Third, there is also one MOU on quick impact projects. Now, quick development projects, quick impact development projects, as we say, because under the Mekong-Ganga cooperation. Now, what we see in the quick impact development projects is that there are already quick impact projects that India is carrying out in the region, in the in the field of education, drinking water, sanitation, and more for that matter. So this will just maybe accelerate the already existing quick impact projects, that MOU under the Mekong-Ganga cooperation. So these are some of the aspects that on which the MOUs have been signed with Lao PDR.
Meghna, also, how do you see PM Modi's engagement with the leaders on the sidelines of the summit? He met New Zealand Prime Minister. We just saw MOUs were exchanged with Lao PDR Prime Minister also. And he also met US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. How do you see those meetings of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with these leaders?
Abhishek, for that matter, it's nothing new for you, me, or the audience to see that Prime Minister Narendra Modi interact with, other leaders or other important officials on the sidelines of any multilateral summit. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi did yesterday also hold a bilateral with the Japanese Prime Minister. This made it the first ever engagement that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had with the Japanese Prime Minister, because he has just held charge and he had just been appointed to the prime ministerial post. So this was an important meeting where there were semiconductors which were discussed, and the upcoming India-Japan annual summit was something that both the parties are waiting for. When we're talking about New Zealand, we are talking about agriculture, we are talking about renewables, we are talking about other sectors wherein New Zealand and India can cooperate. Besides, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also invited, in fact, Prime Minister Lagzon to visit India at his earliest convenient date. So these were the two important bilaterals that Prime Minister Narendra Modi held yesterday. He also met President Marcos, the president of Philippines. So, on the sidelines, not only those bilaterals, but important meetings, or we can say casual meetings with a not very formal setting. Prime Minister Narendra Modi ensures that he does with the leaders who are present at such multilateral summits. And the examples that we see today is something, the visuals that we see today is something that reflects the same.
All right, Meghna, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Vientiane. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. The UN Security Council meets on Lebanon crisis after Israeli strikes on central Beirut. Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian in Turkmenistan on Friday. And Taiwan detects 20 Chinese military aircraft, 10 naval vessels near its territory.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Updates on West Asia conflict now. Fresh strikes hit central Beirut on Thursday as the conflict further escalated in the region. The strikes, which occurred at midnight on Thursday, hit two Beirut locations in the heart of the capital. Israel has repeatedly pounded Beirut's southern suburbs, the bastion of Hezbollah movement. Has been happening over the past 2 weeks, but Thursday's raid was only the third time the city centre has been targeted. Earlier, the UN peacekeepers said Israeli fire on their headquarters in South Lebanon Thursday injured 2 blue helmets. According to the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, the Israeli strike hit an observation tower at a UN base in Nakura. UNIFIL is a UN peacekeeping mission that monitors hostilities and helps to ensure humanitarian access to civilians in southern Lebanon. The attack came on the same day as the UN's peacekeeping force in Lebanon accused Israeli soldiers of repeatedly firing on its positions. Meanwhile, condemning the recent attack, United Nations peacekeepers said that they are determined to remain at their post in southern Lebanon despite Israeli airstrikes.
We know that a few days ago the IDF asked us to move from certain positions along the blue line. This is a known fact. and we have over 29 positions along the blue line, like the Irish in Maruna Ras. And we decided to stay. There was an agreement with all the troop contributing countries that it's important for the UN to be there, to fly the UN flag, and we continue to monitor the situation. We are there because the Security Council has asked us to be there. So we are staying until the situation becomes impossible for us to operate.
Now, EU Chief Charles Michel condemned the attacks on UN peace operations. Talking to reporters on the sidelines of Southeast Asian Summit in Laos, the European Council President said that Israeli fire on UN peacekeeper base is not acceptable.
An attack against a UN peace mission is not responsible, it's not acceptable, and that's why indeed we call on Israel and we call on all sides to fully respect the international humanitarian law.
An Italian Defense Minister, Guido Crosetto, has denounced the attack, terming it as a war crime. Crosetto said that the strike was not a mistake and not an accident.
The situation in the part of Lebanon has been worrying us not since today, but what happened yesterday. And today is totally unacceptable. And there is no justification to say that the Israeli armed forces had warned UNIFIL that some of the bases had to be left. I told the ambassador to refer to the Israeli government that the United Nations and Italy cannot take orders from Israel. The United Nations and Italy are there in the act of a resolution of the United Nations, and the only way to discuss what we are doing is formally putting the issue to the United Nations, not giving orders to the free nations that are there to defend international law, to do one thing or to do another.
And the leaders called for strengthening of Lebanon's army during a meeting of the 15-member Security Council. United Nations Under Secretary General for Political and Peace Building Affairs, Rosemary DiCarlo, urged the conflicting parties to seize the diplomatic options put on the table before them, not the weapons by their side.
Our collective inability to stop the violence and stem the bloodshed is damning. Hezbollah and other non-state armed groups must stop firing rockets and missiles into Israel. We urge Israel to stop its bombardment of Lebanon and to withdraw its ground forces. The parties should seize the diplomatic options put on the table before them, not the weapons by their side.
Well, Deputy U.S. Ambassador Robert Wood said that the international community must focus its efforts on strengthening Lebanese state institutions.
We are deeply concerned by the reported injuries incurred by UN peacekeepers and are wishing them a speedy recovery. As we work to gather additional information, we have also been clear to all parties, including Israel, that we expect them to respect the safety and security of UNIFIL personnel and premises and avoid incidents that expose them to risk or harm, as well as to liaise with UN authorities to ensure UNIFIL can operate freely and in accordance with its mandate.
And French UN Ambassador Nicolas de Vrede said an immediate ceasefire was needed and that a proposal for a 21-day truce put forward by France and the US last month still stands.
The way forward is clear. First and foremost, we need an immediate and lasting ceasefire in Lebanon. This is the appeal that France and the United States launched 2 weeks ago and which a number of our partners have joined. It still stands, this appeal.
And Russia said that leaders of 24 countries will attend this month's BRICS Summit in the Russian city of Kazan. Russian President Vladimir Putin's foreign policy aide Yuri Ushakov told journalists that 24 countries will be represented at leader level. He added that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will also participate in the summit of emerging economies. Ushakov said that leaders of 38 countries had been invited in total, with 9 sending senior officials. The summit will start with informal meetings on October 22nd, followed by a formal summit on October 23rd and 24th. Russia last hosted a BRICS summit in 2015 in the city of Ufa. And Russian President Vladimir Putin met Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian in Turkmenistan on Friday. Leaders of Central Asian countries are meeting to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the birth of Maksim Gorki, the 18th century poet and philosopher. This is the first meeting between the two leaders since Iran fired missiles at Israel last week. Putin and the Iranian president are also due to meet on the sidelines of the annual summit for the BRICS economic group in Russian city of Kazan later this month. Earlier, Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin visited Iran last week for talks with President Pezeshkian and the first Vice President Mohammad Reza Arif. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday held talks with French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris as part of a European tour aimed at securing more Western support. Zelensky was seeking a military and financial boost during a 48-hour trip to London, Paris, Rome and Berlin amid fears of dwindling support if Donald Trump becomes US President next month. Speaking to reporters after talks with President Macron, Zelensky denied media reports that he was discussing the terms of a ceasefire with Russia, while Macron said that Zelensky had outlined Ukraine's plan for the next weeks and the pair had discussed strategy for the next weeks and months.
On the east, I understood something. As I said, the training mission for our soldiers, the brigade, we are thankful to France for this. On it depends a lot of things, especially the situation in the east, because we did not have enough rotation brigades equipped, totally equipped, 100%. So now we work with France and some other allies, and I hope in the nearest future we can count on our strong guys. So of course, big deficit with the equipment.
Big deficit with the equipment? Good.
There are continuous commitments in terms of equipments that are following through. What was done in the last months, both in terms of defense equipment as well as training.
L'avancée de la formation et de l'équipement.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky held talks with Italy's Giorgia Meloni in Rome on Thursday. After talks with Zelensky, Italian Prime Minister announced Rome would host the next recovery conference to help Ukraine's reconstruction. Giorgia Meloni said that Rome's support was about putting Ukraine in the best possible condition to build a negotiating table for peace, a peace that cannot be a surrender.
Looking to a future of peace and prosperity, looking to a European future also means looking to reconstruction. So I am happy to take this opportunity to announce the date of the next Ukraine Recovery Conference, which will be in Rome on 10th and 11th of July 2025. It is an event that we hold dear and on which we have been working for a long time.
And Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense said that 20 Chinese military aircraft and 10 naval vessels were detected operating around Taiwan from 6 a.m. on Thursday to 6 a.m. on Friday. According to the statement released by Taiwan's Defense Ministry, out of 20 aircraft belonging to the People's Liberation Army, 13 crossed the median line of Taiwan Strait and entered Taiwan's northern and southwestern air defense identification zone. Following this, Taiwan sent aircraft and naval ships and deployed coastal-based missile systems to monitor PLA activity. Since September 2020, China has intensified its grey zone tactics by increasing the number of military aircraft and naval vessels operating around Taiwan. According to Taiwan News Report, grey zone tactics are considered an effort or series of efforts beyond steady-state deterrence and assurance that attempts to achieve one's security objectives without resort to direct and sizable use of force. All right, in other global updates, UN's humanitarian agency has warned that flooding continues to affect and displace people across South Sudan. The East African nation, highly vulnerable to climate change, is facing its worst flooding in decades. According to UN humanitarian agency, some 900,000 people have been affected by flooding in South Sudan, while more than 241,000 others displaced. Unity and Warab states in north of the country accounted for more than 40% of the affected population. The country also faces another period of political paralysis after the presidency announced yet another extension to a transitional period agreed in a 2018 peace deal, delaying elections due to take place in December by another 2 years. Now, Hurricane Milton plowed into the Atlantic Ocean on Thursday after cutting a destructive path across Florida, killed at least 16 people and left millions without power. Governor Ron DeSantis said the state had avoided the worst-case scenario, though he cautioned the damage was still significant and flooding remained a concern. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary said at a White House briefing that there were reports of 10 deaths so far, adding it appeared they were caused by tornadoes. The storm, which arrived on Wednesday night, generated tornadoes that wreaked havoc, damaging numerous homes and infrastructure. Reports indicate that at least 19 tornadoes were spawned by hurricane, impacting various counties and affecting over 125 homes. Now, U.S. President Joe Biden said he believes Congress should come back into session to address disaster relief funding needs following Hurricane Milton. Biden said he had not spoken with House Speaker Mike Johnson on the subject.
They should move as rapidly as they can, particularly on the most immediate need, which is small business. Vice President Harris and I said yesterday, and we'll say it again, to anyone who seeks to take advantage of our fellow Americans' desperation, whether you're a company engaging in price gouging or a citizen trying to scam your neighbors, we will go after you and we will hold you accountable.
Now, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris at a campaign rally in Phoenix, Arizona, pledged support for those affected by the hurricane.
America lost nearly 200,000 manufacturing jobs when he was president, including tens of thousands of jobs in Michigan. And those losses started before the pandemic, so we're clear. Making Donald Trump one of the biggest losers of manufacturing jobs in American history.
Former U.S. President and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump criticized the federal response to the two most recent hurricanes, Helene and Milton. Trump congratulated the Republican governors of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina on their response to Helene. Trump has sought to portray the Biden-Harris administration's response to recent storms as ineffective, including claiming without evidence that aid and Federal Emergency Management Agency funding had been diverted to the migrants.
I'd like to congratulate governors of Florida, Ron DeSantis, Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia and South Carolina, Henry McMaster. They were really hit hard and they've done really a fantastic job. The federal government, on the other hand, has not done what you're supposed to be doing. In particular, with respect to North Carolina, they've let those people suffer unjustly.
Well, that's still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Nominations closed for the upcoming general election in Sri Lanka. And nation bids tearful adieu to visionary business tycoon Ratan Tata. And the angry young man of Indian cinema, Amitabh Bachchan, continues to exude charm even as he turns 82 today.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends East Asia Summit in Lao PDR, says security and stability of South China Sea is in interest of entire Indo-Pacific region. Fresh Israeli airstrikes hit central Beirut, while leaders condemn attack on UN peacekeepers in South Lebanon. Kremlin confirms leaders of 24 countries and the UN General Secretary to attend BRICS Summit starting October 22nd. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Prime Minister of Thailand Paetongtarn Shinawatra in Lao PDR. In a post on X, PM Modi said Thailand is a deeply valued friend of India's. He added that talks between the leaders were focused on how to improve trade ties between our nations and to boost cultural linkages. PM Modi said that India and Thailand see great scope in sectors like defense, shipping, digital innovations and more. Moving to South Asia now, nominations for the upcoming general election in the island nation of Sri Lanka have been closed. The Election Commission has issued guidelines to the parties submitting national list candidates. The poll body has advised all political parties and independent groups contesting the election to submit a list of suitable national list nominees during the nomination period. And in Bangladesh, a crown of goddess Kali at the Jeshoreshwari temple in Satkhira has been stolen on Thursday afternoon. The crown was gifted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Jeshoreshwari Kali temple, Satkhira, in March 2021 during his visit to Bangladesh. This was informed by High Commission of India in Bangladesh through its social media platform X. The High Commission has expressed deep concern and urged government of Bangladesh to investigate theft, recover the crown and take action against the perpetrators. According to media reports, the local police has confirmed the incident and they are reviewing the temple's CCTV footage to identify the thief. The Jeshoreshwari Kali temple is one of 51 Shakti Peeths in Hinduism. And India's National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology and the government of Western State of Maharashtra signed a memorandum of understanding focusing on automation and robotics on Friday. On the occasion, Electronics and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav called the agreement significant between the government and the Maharashtra administration. Vaishnav also said that government need to consider what skills India's youth require and what kind of technical education is necessary.
जब से इंडस्ट्री भारत में डेवलप होने लगी तब से महाराष्ट्र उसमें एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाया है। अब उस इंडस्ट्रियल बेस में एक परिवर्तन आ रहा है। उस परिवर्तन के हिसाब से हमारे नौजवानों को क्या स्किल्स चाहिए, किस तरह की टेक्निकल एजुकेशन चाहिए, और इधर प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी इसकी सहायक बनी। यानी आप समझिए न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी का जो फ्रेमवर्क है जिसमें प्रैक्टिकल एजुकेशन, जिसमें दिनों दिन जीवन में काम में आने वाली एजुकेशन मिलने की एक व्यवस्था बनी है और टेक्निकल आज की ज़रूरतों के हिसाब से नौजवानों को जो टेक्निकल एजुकेशन देनी है, इन दोनों का एक अच्छा समागम हुआ।
And a large number of people gathered at the Shashwamedh Ghat in India's Uttar Pradesh to pay tribute to veteran industrialist Ratan Tata during Ganga Aarti at the Ghat on Thursday evening. Devotees lit diyas and offered prayers as they commemorated Tata's extraordinary life, legacy and his contributions to Indian industry and philanthropy. The atmosphere was filled with a sense of reverence and gratitude as people remembered him not only for his visionary leadership but also for his commitment to social causes. Now let's take a look at other stories making news. Specially abled artist Venkana turns a university in Hyderabad into a hub for spreading social awareness through his impactful art. The artist created a series of thought-provoking murals and installations on campus, each addressing critical social issues like disability rights, environment awareness. Despite physical challenges, Venkana's contributions have turned the university into a vibrant space where art meets advocacy, fostering a culture of awareness and empathy. On the 8th day of Navratri in India, devotees gathered in Temple of Delhi to attend the special aarti dedicated to goddess Durga. The 8th day or Doordarshan holds immense significance in Sharad Navratri. It is a day of powerful prayers, fasting and devotion. Many devotees perform Kanya Puja or Kumari Puja on the day, where 9 young girls representing the 9 forms of Durga are worshipped and offered food, sweets and gifts. Now, devotees conduct Ram Leela play in North Indian city of Bareilly. This event, which enacts the life and adventures of Lord Ram, was conducted with great enthusiasm, attracting a large audience from across the region. The Ram Leela in Bareilly is not just a cultural celebration, but a deeply spiritual event for the local devotees. Many of them consider it an honor and a form of devotion to play various roles in the production, portraying characters like Lord Ram, Sita, Lakshman and more. And Navratri celebrations are in full swing in Ahmedabad. Devotees in large number gathered for traditional Garba performances. The city came alive with music and festive lights as people of all ages participate in the cultural extravaganza. From traditional Garba to modern fusion styles, the dance floors was packed with enthusiastic participants spinning in unison to the beats of dhol and folk songs. Ahmedabad, known for its grand Navratri celebrations, is truly a sight to behold during this festive season. And India's legendary actor Amitabh Bachchan turns 82. In a career spanning more than 5 decades, the angry young man has given many hits to the Indian cinema. His charm has enthralled the audiences on television as well as with his leading reality TV show Kaun Banega Crorepati. On his birthday, we get you this special report that talks about Amitabh Bachchan's journey and achievements.
India's legendary actor Amitabh Bachchan, who's widely famous as one of the greatest and most influential actors in the history of Indian cinema, is celebrating his 82nd birthday on the 11th of October. Amitabh Bachchan is regarded as one of India's most remarkable personalities who's enthralled and entertained the audiences across generations. Throughout his career, he has appeared in over 240 plus Indian films spanning almost 5 decades. He has won numerous awards and accolades across his career. Bachchan's career is significant for its longevity, the variety of his performances, and his contributions to Indian popular culture. Amitabh Bachchan made his career debut in 1969 as a VO artist, which won a national award. His first acting debut was with the film Saath Hindustani. He rose to fame from the film Zanjeer in the year 1973, which was turned down by many actors. With this film, he earned his first Filmfare nomination for Best Actor. After this film, he was established in a new persona, the angry young man. Apart from movies, Amitabh Bachchan is famous for his famous show Kaun Banega Crorepati, which is leading the reality TV show since past 16 years. In his career, Amitabh Bachchan has bagged many national and international awards. The notable ones are Padma Shri that he bagged in the year 1984, Padma Bhushan that he bagged in 2001, Legion of Honor that he bagged in 2007, Padma Vibhushan that Amitabh Bachchan got in the year 2015, and the Dada Saheb Phalke Award in 2018. Apart from that, Amitabh Bachchan has won 5 other national awards too. Amitabh Bachchan is famous for his poetry as well, which is a hobby that he picked up from his father, late Hindi poet Harivansh Rai Bachchan. Fans have seen his poems on different occasions that has inspired many. As Amitabh Bachchan celebrates his 82nd birthday, fans continue to wish him a longer life ahead to witness his charismatic appearances on the screen for a longer period. Deepika Mehta's report for DD India.
Alright, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. World Bank Board approves new Ukraine fund supported by G7 nations. In sports, West Indies registers its second win in ongoing ICC Women's T20 World Cup. And we'll also show you the glimpses of Festival of Digital and Creative Culture being held in Prague. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. On to business news now. The World Bank's Executive Board on Thursday approves the creation of Financial Intermediary Fund to support Ukraine, with contributions expected from United States, Canada and Japan. The fund, to be administered by the World Bank, will help fulfill a pledge by a group of 7 rich democracies to provide Ukraine with up to $50 billion in additional funding by the end of the year. According to the sources, exact amounts to be contributed by the US, Japan and Canada are still being worked out, but will be backed by interest from frozen Russian sovereign assets. Earlier, World Bank President Ajay Banga said that he was absolutely open to the idea of managing a G7 loan fund for Ukraine backed by the earnings from frozen Russian sovereign assets, at least for non-military purposes. And Asian shares were headed for their first weekly loss in 5 on Friday as a stunning rally in Chinese shares took a breather, although all eyes are on the details of much anticipated fiscal stimulus from Beijing this weekend. European stock markets are set to open slightly higher, with Euro Stoxx 50 futures and FTSE futures both up 0.2%. French bond futures rallied 33 ticks, slightly ahead of a small bounce in US bonds as France planned tax hikes and spending cuts to rein in its deficit. Wall Street futures were flat. Tesla opens new tab unveiled the long-awaited showcase of an autonomous taxi in Los Angeles, which came with fanfare but few details on timing. Production is not set to begin until 2026. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares, House of Japan opens new tab, rose a subdued 0.3% on Friday, but was still set for a weekly loss of 1.7% after 4 straight weeks of gains. The Nikkei opens new tab, however, gained 0.5%, bringing its weekly rise to 2.5%. Sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. Off-spinner Karishma Ramharik starred with an impressive 4-wicket haul as West Indies cantered to an 8-wicket victory against Bangladesh in Women's T20 World Cup on Thursday. Ramharik's fine bowling spell of 4 for 17 from a 4 overs restricted Bangladesh to 103 for 8. With the bat, West Indies overhauled the target with as many as 43 balls to spare. Captain Hayley Matthews and Stephanie Taylor shared 52 runs for the opening wicket before Deandra Doughton made a quick-fire 19 not out of just 7 deliveries with the help of 2 sixes. West Indies scored 104 for 2 in 12.5 overs to notch its second win in 3 matches and keep itself afloat for a semi-final spot. Meanwhile, for Bangladesh, captain Nigar Sultana top scored for Bangladesh with a 44 of 39, but she did not get enough support from her batting colleagues. This was Bangladesh's second loss in 3 matches. Football now. Argentina was held to a 1-1 draw against Venezuela on Thursday in Lionel Messi's return to international duty in South America's World Cup qualifiers. Captain Messi has fully recovered from the injury he sustained in the Copa America final against Colombia in July. The 37-year-old was brilliant in setting up Otamendi on a drenched pitch to open the scoring 13 minutes after kickoff. However, the determined Venezuelan striker equalized in the second half with an exceptional header from a Jefferson Soteldo's cross to temporarily move his team to 6th in the standings with 11 points. Argentina remains top of the standings with 19 points and will face Bolivia on Tuesday, while Venezuela will visit Paraguay. And the Indian Blind Football Federation announced on Thursday that it will host the 2025 IPSA Women's Blind Football World Championship in Kerala. This landmark event from 2nd to 12th October 2025 marks the first time India will host a Blind Football World Championship, placing the country at the heart of global blind football and spotlighting its burgeoning football community. This championship is a significant milestone for the Indian Blind Football Federation, which has been working diligently to promote and advance the para sport in India. The event is expected to draw teams from across the globe, offering a unique opportunity for India to demonstrate its capability and commitment to supporting and growing inclusive sports. An Indian men's team bowed out in the semi-finals and settled for the bronze medal following a 3-0 loss to Chinese Taipei in the semi-final of the Asian Table Tennis Championships. World number 42 Achanta Sharat Kamal was going tough against his world number 7 opponent Lin Yunzhu, losing the contest 11-7, 12-10, 11-9. In the following contest, Manav Thakkar lost to world number 22 Kao Cheng Jui in a hard-fought contest. In the third game, Harmi Desai also had to deal with disappointment as the Indian paddler lost to Huang Yan Cheng 6-11, 9-11, 7-11. While Indian women's team had also won the bronze medal in the competition on Wednesday, making its first ever medal in women's team event for India since Asian Table Tennis Union started conducting the competition in 1972. And in other news, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh left for Gangtok, Sikkim on Friday to address the Army Commanders Conference 2024. Minister to also celebrate Vijay Dashmi with the armed forces personnel. Earlier, in a strong message to China, the top brass of the Indian Army led by General Upendra Dwivedi would be meeting in Sikkim near the line of actual control, where they would be addressed by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. This is the first time that the crucial meeting of the top army commanders would be held at a location close to the line of actual control. An inaugural landing of IAF C-295 takes place at Navi Mumbai International Airport. The Indian Air Force aircraft landed at the airport for a trial run on the runway, marking a milestone for the Indian Air Force. The landing was part of a trial run on the airport's freshly constructed runway. The C-295, known for its versatility in tactical airlift, missions and humanitarian assistance operations, made a smooth touchdown, symbolizing the airport's growing strategic importance. And the 12th edition of the Signal Festival of Light and Video Mapping begins in Prague. The annual 4-day festival illuminates Prague's historic monuments, streets and parks, and for the first time, Prague Castle. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.